Om Shri Sai Ram. We begin today's session with three Omkars. Om Shri Sai Ram. Offering our most humble and reverential pranams at the divine lotus feet of our most beloved Bhagwan. Respected elders and my dear brothers and sisters, a loving Sai Ram to one and all to this 52nd edition of the online Samarpan session. Today, we are blessed to have amongst us Professor B. Sai Giridhar. Professor B. Sai Giridhar hails from the city of Mangalore and was a Balvika student during his schooling days. He was blessed to be the student of the first batch of BCom course of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning in the year 1982. He then went on to complete his MCom in the year 1987, during which he was awarded the All-Rounder Gold Medal by Bhagwan in the year 1986. He was also part of the Institute Brass Band, which was formed during the 60th birthday celebrations of our most beloved Bhagwan in the year 1985. Besides this, Sir was also awarded as the athletic champion of Bhagwan's University in the year 1987. Amongst the various spate of achievements, Professor B. Sai Giridhar went on to complete his PhD in the year 1993. Post his doctorate, Bhagwan handpicked Sir as a faculty member in the Department of Commerce in the Vrindavan campus of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. Professor B. Sai Giridhar has held several senior positions in Swami's University, namely Deputy Director of the Prashanti campus from the year 2014 to 2015, Head of Department of Management and Commerce from 2015 to 2018, and currently Sir holds the position of the Registrar of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. I would now request Sir to share his thoughts with us.
Thank you very much, Abhinav. I offer my loving pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet. Sai Ram to one and all. It's a great blessing to be associated with Bhagwan's institution. Why I say that is because the amount of love that we experience as students, as faculty, and any other position that we hold is substantial or tremendous, we can say. Bhagwan always said, students are my property. He did not say the buildings which are there around or the land which is there around is his property. He said students are his property. And he is the chancellor for this universe where everyone is enrolled as a student. Anyone who wants to learn is enrolled as a student. So we have got a path which we can adopt, which has been laid out by Bhagwan. The experience that we go through when we talk about Bhagwan is something which gives us a lot of joy. Why I say that it gives us a lot of joy is because when Bhagwan interacts with any one of us, or Bhagwan says something to us, or indicates something to us, it is always that he will keep our good in mind and he will select something which is very beneficial for all of us and not something which will be detrimental for us. When he says something, there is a lot of love behind that. A student who joins Bhagwan's institution is trained in so many activities, skills, and participates in so many events. This prepares him not only for a living, but more importantly for life. How do we face life? what should be our perspective of life? How do we attain what we want to attain? In one of the interactions which we were having with Bhagwan, Bhagwan asked, who is Baba? When it was asked, who is Baba? Many people said, Baba means mother, Baba means a dear one, and things of that nature. But Bhagwan continued and said, what do we really understand by the term Baba? When Bhagwan said, what is Baba? Bhagwan said, being awareness, that is Sat, Chit, Ananda, and Atma. Being awareness is one part of it, which Bhagwan says. Bliss is the third part of it, and Atma is the fourth part of it. What is being? Bhagwan said it is Sat. What is awareness? Bhagwan said it is Chit. What is bliss? Ananda and Atma. So this is where Bhagwan very beautifully, when interacting with the students, brought in what do we understand, or what should we be our understanding of the term Baba. When we are a part of the institution, we have so many lessons which we learn, which are sometimes subtle, sometimes direct, sometimes indirect. One simple instance which I would like to state, the relationship which should be there between a devotee and the Lord. If we go back to the Mahabharata, we will find the Ramayana, we will find the relationship that existed between Lord Rama and Lakshmana. Many a times, Lakshmana was able to understand the need of what Rama had in his mind, or the thought which he had in mind, and executed it accordingly. So this is where Swami always highlighted and stated what should be the relationship that we come across when it comes to the Lord and the devotee. We should be able to understand, we should be able to respond, we should be able to react in the way that the Lord wants us to react. I remember of an instance which we were very lucky to be associated with. That is one of the items which was put up for sports meet. Sports meet, annual sports meet is something which is a very spectacular event which the students of Sri Satya Sai Institute of Higher Learning offer it as their love and gratitude towards Bhagwan. We have multiple events which are carried out here, which include adventure sports, which include dance, drama, cultural events, and things of that nature. When an event is put up before Bhagwan, there are always expectations. In fact, we had the great good fortune of Bhagwan coming around, seeing the performances and saying, yes, this can be put up or this can be modified. Maybe you can add something to this. Bhagwan used to be very sensitive to what is happening around and what is going on. I still remember a lot of effort was put in by one group which was doing a drill with reference to rifles. And this was also the period when we had the attack which happened in Mumbai. Bhagwan came, he witnessed the entire program. Then see how sensitive the Lord of the universe is. He made one comment saying that with all the things which are going around, I don't think this is very appropriate at this time to be presented before the entire world. So this is what Bhagwan mentioned. And we had 3 days left for the event to be actually put up. Now, in the normal case, what would have happened? Students would have said that we have put in so much of effort. It had reached a level of perfection. And all that we had to do is put it up on the final day, and everyone would have appreciated it. But that's a love between the Lord and his students. The moment the students came to know that Bhagwan felt like this, the immediate decision which the students said, or they said, we will not put up this program. If Bhagwan feels it this way, we will not put up this program. In fact, they did not feel bad about it at all, because this was the bond which was there between Bhagwan and them. What did they do? Did they simply sit back and say, okay, fine, no problem, next 3 days we'll just sit down, enjoy what others are going to do? No, they didn't do that. They still had that beautiful drive of saying that we want to be a part of this beautiful sports meet. Let us think what we can possibly do. Remember, there are only 2 days left before the final day. So totally 3 days before the final day. What did they do? They said, sir, can we sit down and discuss what we can do? So they started listing out items which can be taken up. That is, this can be done, and a whole list was created. Now, if you want to put up an item, you also need some equipment, some props, which will help you to do that. The item which was finally selected by them was what is called as log drill. People who have been a part of it will remember. The next 2 days, the props were got. People went to Kottacheru, picked up some logs from the carpentry divisions in the Kottacheru, came back, and students started practicing. And this was right from morning 6 o'clock. They were willing to go out and practice. Have a break for breakfast, take a short gap. Why? Because soon after breakfast, it may not be advisable to work out. So next 1.5 days, they worked out. And they had a sequence ready where you're talking of some 60, 70 people sitting together, trying to figure out what should be done. Why? They had only one desire. What was that desire? The desire was, can we add to the smile of Bhagwan? Can we make Bhagwan proud? Can we have people say that the students of Bhagwan have performed well? So with this one single pointed agenda, they went about and worked on for the next 1.5 days. And on the penultimate day, we had one group presentation. That is, all the events would be presented for all the campus people so that they can give their feedback and feel what they have done. See, this is where the love of students are there for their fellow students. The moment this group entered the ground, all the people who were there in the ground were clapping. Why were they clapping? They were clapping because they felt that this is something which is spectacular. This is something which is stupendous. Not because of the act of what they have done, but because of the spirit with which they have taken up the challenge. Because Bhagwan said it may not be appropriate, they said we will change the event. This is the amount of love which students have towards Bhagwan, and the way Bhagwan also reciprocates that love. And on the final day, with 1.5 days practice, the students put up an event, and this is known only to the students, the faculty, and Bhagwan. Nobody else knows about it. The people who came and saw the event would have felt that, okay, last 10 days, last 15 days, they would have, because that's a maximum amount of time which a student gets to prepare for any possible event. So this is where the involvement comes of the student. This is what we talk in terms of, in management, we talk of crisis management. This is nothing but crisis management. Students went through that process, took a decision, were very bold, worked for it, Whatever was needed, they got it. And we also found that everyone supported it. So this is where, when we work as a team and when the Lord wants something, it is always there. We find that is the amount of love which Bhagavan has, not only for the students, but the perspective of the nation. Swami was so sensitive that when so many people had lost their lives, we should not be putting up something which will again bring out thoughts of what people went in. Because at that point of time, all the news channels, all the newspapers, they filled with only these pictures and stories about it. So this is the unique bond which is there between Bhagavan and his students, and how things work out for ensuring that Bhagavan is happy and the people are happy with what his students have done. I still remember there was one other instance, that is a motorcycle event. And this person was very desperate to perform in front of Bhagavan. And normally we know that we always get military coaches who are really trained and who actually perform their skills. Now everyone wants to push it a little further, saying that if we can do this, it'll look very spectacular. Everyone will be very happy. Bhagwan will be very happy when everyone is happy. Bhagwan had very beautifully sent word saying that in that particular year, when we were practicing, he sent word, please tell them that they should not have any people lying down when people are going for a long jump. That's called as a long jump in bikes over a ramp. And now, when that message came, there was a little bit of a heartbreak in the students. Why? Because this is something where you can say that I've over 30 people, 40 people, we have jumped. So this is what Bhagwan mentioned. Now it's our duty, because whenever Bhagwan mentions anything, there is a lot of meaning behind it. It is something which we should accept and not think in terms of negotiating. That's what I had mentioned in my previous talk, which was delivered. So we said no, nothing doing. There were a lot of sad faces, because they felt that this was an opportunity where they could show their skill to Bhagwan, and Bhagwan would have been very happy. And that mood continued for some time. The final day came, performances started, the other ground performances went on, the fire jumps went on, tunnels went on, and then we came to the final long jump, because that's not normally the penultimate, because after that the pyramid may come in. So the first person went, he jumped well, so there were no people lying down there. Then it was the second person. Second person's turn came. He had moved on from first to second. He had to get that distance. So he moved on to first to second, and from second, he was not able to pick up pace. So he went over the ramp. Because he could not pick up pace, he just dropped next to it. So this is where we have to understand that when Bhagavan says something, there's a huge, huge significance attached to it, and we should follow it by all means. So this is where, at the end of the event, all this happened, and people said, the boys who were feeling bad came back and said, sir, it was wonderful that we stuck to what Bhagavan said. Why? Because if suppose people had were lying down, it would have been a disaster. So this is where the way that Bhagavan used to get involved, the way Bhagavan used to guide people in terms of what should be done, what should not be done, how should you take it forward, what should be considered when you're doing something. All these are facts which we've got a lot of lessons which we have learned, when we have gone through this entire exercise. And this entire exercise used to be, those 10, 15 days used to be a day where it was all learning, learning, and learning for everyone. And there is no excuse for that. One other instance, I'll talk about sports because we're talking of sports. We will talk about that and then maybe move on to something else. One of the instance was Bhagavan was sitting and watching. We had one particular year what is called as a jeep and auto stunts. Now, as we were seeing, we had indications that Bhagavan may get up at any moment. And we said, okay, we will go by that. That as soon as Bhagavan gets up, we will stop. So till then, everyone was hoping that they will be able to run their event once before Bhagavan. What I was trying to say is that everyone knew, because it was already late, and Bhagavan normally is very concerned about the comfort of devotees. It was hot and people were sitting under the sun because there was no shelter at that point of time. And Bhagavan was not very comfortable seeing his devotees sitting in the sun. So this event, as soon as Bhagavan got up, we stopped. But what I'm trying to say is that the students who could not get to perform, they were okay with it. Why? Because they were performing it for Bhagavan, and they were happy that Bhagavan had seen them in the event which he had come to watch when he had come in one of the evening rounds. So you did not find that Bhagavan, you could have waited till I finished, because there were another 4-5 events which we had to complete. But it was okay that people took it right and they said fine. I'm also reminded of another instance. Previously, before Sai Kulwant Hall came up, we had small shelters towards the end of the mandir where devotees could sit. And one such day, it rained. So when it rains, only a few people can go and stand in that mandap. So when it started raining, Bhagavan came out. See, this is the love of our Lord. He feels for his devotees so much. He came up to the edge of the upper veranda at that point of time. And he told all the devotees to get into, because as soon as he came out, all of them who were standing in that shelter or small mantaps which were there came and sat down. Swami said, no, please go back. They were not willing to go back because nobody wants to miss an opportunity of seeing Bhagavan. And the love of Bhagavan was such that when they refused to go back, Swami started walking in the rain. So he went and gave darshan in the rain. That is, he had finished darshan, he had called people for interview, and people had come out of interview, and that is when it started raining. But because people were sitting there for his darshan, Swami went in the rain and gave darshan. This is the wonderful relationship that exists between the Lord and his devotees. This is how, even if you talk in terms of a manager today, we say that they should empathize, they should be able to understand their people, they should be able to know what are the difficulties which they are facing and go along with them. So Bhagavan was trying to tell us that if people who love you are going through a little bit of difficulty, you should be there to take care of them. You should be there to go and give them joy. You should be there to give them satisfaction. So this is where the wonderful relationship which we come by, whether it is the students and the Lord, or whether it's with the devotees and the Lord, we find that Bhagavan always showered his love and grace where the intensity of their prayer was so high. That brings me to on a personal note, I would like to say something. That is, we were given the opportunity of taking care of the electrical maintenance in Vrindavan. as a part of the hostel, we had a hostel maintenance group which was taking care of it. So we had some external experts also who used to come and regularly update and do a lot of things. It was one of those days when there was one small 15 kVA generator which was connected to Sai Vrindavan. And this was a new generator at that point of time because the load in Sai Vrindavan was very low. And they felt that it is better that there is an AMF panel for Bhagwan, so that automatically the power is restored. So what happened was it was installed. By evening it was working. Night around 9:30, 10 or 10:30, it failed. That is neither generator power nor the electricity board power was going through. So there was an SOS wherein they said maybe we can revert back to the old system. Now, the old system also had an automatic start. That is what was connected to the hostel. What I'm trying to bring out is how Bhagwan takes care of his devotees. So we immediately jumped into action. A few students and ourselves, we went, disconnected the 15 kVA and connected the 30 kVA cables back. So that was connected, and once that was connected, we had to go to the mandir, that is Sai Vrindavan, and there we had to make some changes. So we told one of the helpers who was there, so please go and ensure that even if power goes, please don't put it on. Why? Because, and don't allow anyone to come and put it on. So this happened. We left it to that. We went in, we started working on the cables there, replaced all the cables, and came back. So as we were coming out of the Vrindavan gate, we suddenly heard the generator start. So we were a little taken aback that how did the generator start? Because the power had gone at that point of time, but how did the generator start? We did not expect that the generator will start. So it was a matter of a few, maybe minutes. That is, we moved out from the back portion of Sai Vrindavan and reached the gate, and the generator starts. So we go there to see what happened to that helper who is supposed to take care. So we find that he is not there. So we open the generator room and see that it is put in automatic. So you can understand what could be the consequence of that. If suppose it had happened a few minutes back, things would have been very different. So this is where Bhagwan takes a lot of care of all. It is not that there was negligence on the part of the group to ensure that they will take some risk. No, the precautions were taken. But still, there was a lapse on someone's duty. But see, this is where you find that Bhagwan takes care of everything. He ensures that the right things happen at the right time, so that the people who are thinking of taking care of something with the intention of ensuring some good intention are taken care of. So this is how we find the loving Lord responds and takes care, protects all the people who believe in him, have faith in him, because that is his blessing, so that they have faith in him. This is another wonderful instance where we come by, where we find that it is his protection ensured that all the people who were working on that were safe. I'm also reminded of another instance. Why I'm telling all these instances is so that we understand the amount of love which Bhagwan had for each one of us. Sometimes it's very visible. Sometimes we may find that he has spoken a lot to X or Y, or his family has got a lot of chances. But the way he is protecting, the way he is taking care, the way he is supporting, and way he is ensuring that what type of life you lead is actually the indication of his love for all of us. And every one of us, if we just look back, there'll be so many instances which will look like maybe it was a coincidence. In case of Bhagwan, there is no coincidence. It is only his blessings that we come by. If we think it is a coincidence, then Bhagwan says, Yad bhavam tad bhavat. That is, as you think, so I am I. So if you think I am God, I am God. If you think I am a man, I am a man for you. No problem. I am not worried about it, because his stature will not get affected by what we say. That is where Bhagwan used to refer to that poem wherein when the poet was a little bit disturbed by what had happened, he said, what is this, Rama? Why have you done this? But then he corrects himself immediately. If suppose you were not God, would this have happened? Would this person have come? What would have happened? So this is where you find that the Lord is not affected by what we think, but we are affected by what we think. So it's very important that we think in terms of the Lord, how he takes care of all of us. Actually, at times you find that Bhagwan is very busy. I am reminded of the incident when I was in 9th standard. He had visited Mangalore and he came, he blessed and visited our home there. So before visiting the home, we found that we had gone to, Bhagwan had visited one other home of Mr. M.S. Pai. Bhagwan used to call my father and him as brothers. So we had gone to his place. So Bhagwan had just reached. So they had prepared some tiffin. So Bhagwan was about to sit for that. Then immediately he saw my father and he said, what is it? Then my father said, Swami, if you can come home, it will be very nice. So, see, my program is very tight. Anyway, I'll come for 5 minutes, Swami said. So, father said, yes, Swami. Then immediately he asked Mr. Pai, do you know his house? So he said, yes. So then you all go, I'll come along with him. So we were waiting and suddenly Swami came. Swami said, no, I'm in a great hurry. And he came in. So with him, a few other people also had come in. So Swami came in and sat down in the hall. So after sitting down, he was looking at all the photographs which I put all around the hall. Then actually that 5 minutes which Swami said went on and on. It was more than 30, 40 minutes. He kept interacting with my grandmother, my uncle, and a few others of the family who had joined there. So he interacted there. And then finally there was pressure on my father from other members because Swami had to go to the Samiti from there. And from there he had to move on. There were a few other programs which were lined up. They were saying that it is all being delayed. But Swami was just lost. He simply was sitting down, relaxing and talking. And it was a great experience. So then finally, my father went up and said, Swami, they're saying that it's getting late. Then Swami said, okay, come, we'll go. Then Swami, father said, Swami, can you come to the bhajan hall which we have? So that's a background which I've got. That's a bhajan hall which is there in our home in Mangalore. So Swami came, there was a chair there. Swami sat on the chair. Then there was a room which was created for Bhagwan those days, because Bhagwan had told my father, I'll come to your house. So the moment Swami told that he's going to come, he added one whole section only for Bhagwan. That is one bathroom, one dressing room, one bedroom, and the budget hall. And all that was there. So Swami went and sat there. So this is where I'm saying that when the Lord is pleased with you, time is never at short supply for him. Till then, he was saying that his schedule is very packed. But when the Lord decides, it's a very different game that you are working with. Why? Because he wanted to give that joy. And this weight was there for some time that he should come and stay and spend some time in the house. So this is where you find that he responds the same way. So that's the amount of joy that he can think in terms of giving. Bhagavan says that, in fact, in one of the interactions that we had, when he had called a few of us inside to the interview room, Bhagavan said, Swami is your only friend. Swami is your only friend. All others are your friends for a limited period of time. So at times we don't understand the significance of it. What do we understand by the term Swami is your only friend? All others have got a limited time span, and you are a part of Bhagavan who has come out, and you'll have to get back to him. Like, for example, there was one question which Bhagavan asked. Which comes first, birth or death? So there was a debate which happened in front of Bhagavan. Some saying birth comes first, some saying, most of them said birth, because nobody said death comes first. Then Bhagavan said death comes first. How does death come first? When you are being moved out from Bhagavan, that is when you are born. So when there's a death from Bhagavan, when you move out from Bhagavan, that part of yours is taken out from Bhagavan. And when do you get born? When you come back to Bhagavan. So this is the relationship or analogy which Bhagavan gave. So when you move out from Bhagavan, there's death. When you come back to Bhagavan, there is birth. So death precedes birth. Because if there is no death, there is no birth. That's what Bhagavan said. A death happens only when a person moves away from Bhagavan. And when you come back, that is when you are born again. So when Bhagavan said that he is the only friend, all others are for a limited period of time. Like, for example, if you are in the hostel, then maybe for 3 years, 5 years, 9 years, 10 years. That's a time of relationship that you will have. So if you're talking of family members, maybe for your lifetime. But Bhagavan, it is lifetimes, because you've always come from him, you're going to go back to him. So this is where you find that Bhagavan says that Swami is your only friend. So this is why it is very important that we think in terms of the relationship of what we should have with Bhagavan. Why whatever he says should not be negotiated. We should be able to say, when Bhagavan says something, we go by that. When Bhagavan indicates something, we go by that. Many a times what happens is we get fixed with some of our ideas. So even if 10 times someone else prompts you to do something else which is good for you, we may not be able to take it. At the same time, Bhagavan is so loving that he is willing to give anything to his devotees or his students. I am reminded of an instance wherein there was Bhagwan had called a tailor from Bangalore to stitch some clothes for all of us. So we had gone, he had called us and said, okay, go to the Purnachandra auditorium, you give your measurements there. So we went and gave our measurements. And we came back to Mandir. Bhagavan asked, have you all given your measurements? So we said, yes, Swami, we have given the measurements. So after a few days, when all the clothes were stitched, safaris were stitched, then Bhagavan said, the safaris are ready. You all can give a trial. If there's any error, then they will correct it and give. So what happened is we all went there. We tried it out. It did fit us. We simply carried it and walked off. All of us. Little did we realize it was a great opportunity that we had of receiving it from Bhagavan. We thought, because Bhagavan said, try it out and see. So we tried it out, then took it off with us. Then we realized what we have done. Bhagavan did not say anything about that. We realized that there is something which we have missed out. Then we approached Bhagavan. Bhagavan, there is a mistake on our part that dresses were taken off by us without having the opportunity of receiving it from your hand. No problem. You all can have it that way. So then we pleaded with Bhagavan, saying that we will return it back there. If Bhagavan can be kind enough to hand it over to us, it will be our good fortune. So when we said that, Bhagavan responded accordingly. He said, okay, if that is going to give you all joy, please go and give it there. So we went and returned all the dresses back to the tailor, and the tailor in turn handed it over to Bhagavan. And Bhagavan was very kind enough to call out each person by the name, because there was a label stuck to that. So, and he also had some nice taglines which he added to that and started distributing. See, this is the amount of love which Bhagavan has towards his students. Even if we sometimes unknowingly or knowingly commit a mistake, he is willing to forgive if suppose that was not very intentionally done. And he took it as something fine, that is okay with me if you have understood what you have done is not right. So this is how you find that Bhagavan always takes care of all his devotees and ensures that we respond and live according to what he says. The love which Bhagavan has for his students, actually, if many of you all would have seen the Hillview Stadium in 1981-82, it was one ground which was sloping downwards. So that is when one devotee said, Swami, because it is sloping downwards, it's a little uneven. For the students to play and devotees to sit, it will be a little difficult. So let us make two grounds. So you found that bulldozers came, then they worked on the ground. They created two levels of the ground. And all the work was going on. Then Bhagavan wanted to give joy to the students and make them participate in that. So after it was leveled and it came to a particular stage, then Bhagavan said, you all can, students can also participate in a little bit of cleaning up, leveling and things of that nature. So evenings used to be a time, that is after the college, all used to get on to their work dress and come to the ground and start working out in patches. And the interesting part or the loving part was that everyone was expecting that Bhagavan will come round. And when Bhagavan comes round, he will not come round just like that. He will have either an apple or any other sweet or a fruit, which he will bring it along with himself and give it to each student personally. So that was the amount of love which Bhagavan had. So the prayer of a devotee to ensure that the ground is level gets rewarded as students getting this prasadam on a daily basis. On a daily basis. So this is how the interaction went on. So it might be that the work done might not be very significant, but when Bhagwan wills, his love flows. You may feel that you are eligible for X or you are eligible for Y. That is, in other words, you build up some expectation. So when you build up expectation, what does Bhagwan say? When you build up an expectation, that leads to attachment. When there is an attachment, you can get disappointed. Why? If that expectation doesn't get fulfilled, automatically the person is going to feel a little disappointed. I expected that this will happen. Like, for example, you have put your heart and soul, worked on something, thought Bhagwan will recognize it and reward you. Let us assume nothing of that happens. Then what happens? That becomes your testing point. How are you going to react to how he is rewarded you? And what is your thought which is running at that point of time? If you're going to feel disheartened, if you're going to feel, oh, I did so much, but I was expecting this, that did not happen, then I think there is a gap between what Swami says, that there should not be expectation. Expectation leads to attachment. Attachment can lead to disappointment. But on the other hand, we do it without expecting anything. If suppose we do it without expecting anything, then what happens? Then it is like when you give a check to a banker and say that I want to withdraw X amount from the account, then the banker is bound to give you only that amount. On the other hand, when you give the check and tell the Lord, I'm not interested in anything, then the Lord can decide what to give. And the Lord, when he decides what to give, it will not be small. He will always give something which is much more than what you have actually worked for. So this is where, whenever we have got an opportunity to work, to do something, we need to ensure that we are doing it as an offering, as an opportunity which has been given to us, rather than take it as, oh, this is a reward for what I have done for X, Y, or Z tasks which were given to me. Because the moment we get into that frame of mind, then we know what is going to follow. Because that is not the line of thinking which Bhagwan would expect us to work on. Let us put our energies, work in such a way, our only objective should be that we want to please the Lord. We want to make Bhagwan happy. It is not that by what we do, Bhagwan's happiness will increase. That's our perception. But when our perception of happiness is there, Bhagwan also responds accordingly. So that is why it is very important that we take it as an opportunity which he has given it to us for discharging our task very significantly. That also, I would like to say that whenever we are here in Prashanti Nilayam, Bhagavan says, please come and recharge your batteries. Is it that he is not in X place, Y place? He is omnipresent. When we say that he is omnipresent, but why does he say that please come to Prashanti Nilayam and get your batteries recharged? Nothing which he says is without a meaning. So when he says that come to Prashanti Nilayam, recharge your batteries, that means that this is the charging center. Prashanti Nilayam is the charging center. We have to find ways and means by which we can come and get recharged. Power is everywhere. But where can you draw it from? Like, for example, the wire is running all over the room. Now, if I want to plug in something and play, where can I plug in? Where there is a socket, I can plug in. So this is where Bhagavan is saying that you come to Prashanti Nilayam, experience my love here, accept the blessings and get yourself charged. So that's where the love which Bhagavan says, come. But of course, he also says, unless I will, nobody can come into Prashanti Nilayam. So we have to pray to him so that we enjoy his divinity and experience his love. Bhagavan sometimes, when he was interacting with us, said, generally people don't understand his divinity. Now, that's a very profound statement. What was the reason why Bhagavan said that people don't understand his divinity? Bhagavan then gave the example of people seeing the tail of an elephant in a jungle safari. They went on a jungle safari. They did not see anything, but they saw the tail of an elephant. Now, what happens after they come back? They will talk so much about it. Wherever they go, they'll talk. We saw the tail of that elephant. Nobody else saw anything else. At least we saw the tail of the elephant. Then Bhagavan says, people come here, they see Sai Gita. They don't give any weight for that. Similarly, then drawing analogy to saying that why we don't understand his divinity, he said, if Bhagavan appears during his meditation for a second or two, we attach a lot of weight to it. Whereas we take his physical or his omnipresence for granted. So that is where Bhagavan was saying that we should not be convenient. When Bhagavan says something, I think we should accept it. We should be able to discharge it, to keeping always what will please Bhagavan. Bhagavan always said that we should have discrimination. What type of discrimination should we have? The discrimination should be that whenever the yardstick of discrimination is, what is its impact for the society? Not personally. So that is why Bhagavan said that when Bhagavan says something, we should be able to discharge it, keeping that discrimination of what is going to please him. So that's why it is necessary that we have to think in terms of what Bhagavan says. I'm drawn to another question which Bhagavan asked in the course of an interview. Who is a true devotee? Bhagavan asked the question, who is a true devotee? So automatically, we can't classify who's a devotee. So everyone was trying to state, Swami, the person who loves you is a true devotee. The person who does your work is a true devotee. and things of that nature. Then finally, Bhagwan came back with his definition of who is a devotee. Bhagwan said, the person who is the same, whether I am physically present or not, who has got purity of thought, word, and deed, is a true devotee. So, in other words, a person who has got Trikarna Shuddhi and who feels the omnipresence of the Lord all the time is a true devotee. So that is why they say in Kali Yuga, it is Namasmarana. So Namasmarana is thinking of the Lord. So talking of that, Namasmarana, thinking of the Lord, if you just chant his name, that is not enough. Bhagavan says, like for example, when Sita Mata gave the necklace to Hanuman, for Hanuman, he wanted to know whether it was reverberating with Rama's name or not. So task of the Lord with the name of the Lord. If it doesn't, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't hold any importance in the life. So this is where you find that the type of behavior that we exhibit in the presence, that is omnipresence of the Lord, that is if we are consistent either in the physical presence or otherwise, then Bhagavan said he is a true devotee. And he said sports, singing, sadhana are all very important. And just by saying, I want Swami, there is no point of saying that. If you want Swami, then follow his commandments. Whatever commandments which Bhagavan has given, you should be able to follow that. So that is what Bhagavan says, that when you say that I want Swami, then that is what you need to follow. So this is where you find that Bhagavan brings in who is a devotee, when do I recognize him as a devotee, and what should he be doing. So it is not for us to qualify ourselves as devotees. I think our job is only to pray to him so that he recognizes, he blesses, or he showers his love and grace on all of us. Another very important aspect which we come by when we talk in terms of our relationship with our Lord, Bhagavan always says that if you have made a promise, please keep it. If you have made a promise to the Lord, please keep it. And he says, in order to keep that promise, if you have to stand against all, be prepared for it. If you have made a promise to the Lord, then please keep it. And for keeping up that promise, if you have to stand up against all, be prepared for it. But please do this with the pure thought. It is not that you're doing it out of ego. Your dedication is to the word which you have given to the Lord. Please stick to that word. Practice it. But it should be with a pure, very pure intention. It should not be with the intention of saying that, no, I know this is what it is. This is how it should be done. So going that way. No, it is not that way at all. Here, again, it's a relationship between the Lord and you. You're given a word, keep it. And it doesn't mean that it's only that physically you have held Bhagwan's hand and said that this is what it is. At any point of time, if you have promised something, then please fulfill your promise. It is very necessary. And we have got to be perfect. What do we understand by the term perfect? Bhagavan says, in order to meet that goal or of what you have promised, you have to be pure, you got to be perfect. So when will a person be perfect? A person can be perfect only when he has got the grace of the Lord. It is not possible otherwise. I'm not giving an alibi which we can use to get away from things. No, our effort will continue. That's what Bhagavan has said in Gita. In fact, Bhagavan had arranged for a whole month of exposition on the Dhyana Yoga. So this is where you find the connect, where Bhagavan puts the dots and says, okay, you connect it, join it up, and think in terms of how you can make your life better. So this is where we'll have to think in terms of how do we be pure, how to be perfect, and how do we use a sense of discrimination. Bhagavan says, never allow the body to follow the mind. Why should the body not follow the mind? That's where Bhagavan says, then that can lead you away from the path of what you had worked. We have to think in terms of being connected so that we can walk in the path or be in a position to do good to all others. That is why Bhagavan says, don't allow the body to follow the mind. We have to think in terms of how do we ensure that we can be good and be focused on the word which has been given to the Lord. If you can give a good advice to people, Bhagavan says, give a good advice to people. So this is what he says when he asks us to keep a promise. Be pure, be perfect, use your sense of discrimination. Don't allow your body to follow the mind. And if you are in a position where you can do good to others, do good to others. And where you are in a position to give an advice to others, give advice to others. So this is how Bhagavan says that you can remain connected. And he also says, Bhagavan says, keep God first. I'm quoting what Bhagavan has told us directly, because these are the things which keep us going. Bhagavan said, keep God first, society next, and yourself third. If you do it this way, everything will go on well if you follow this dictum. Why? Because the amount of discrimination that you will use, or the type of discretion that you will use, will be very different when compared to if you have yourself first. So if you have yourself first, then you can be selfish. You can be selfish. Whereas when you have God first, then you will always think in terms of, what matters for what God likes, what God loves. So that will be the guiding principle that we will have when we think in terms of God should be always first for us, the society should come next, and we should be the last. So this is the type of relationship that we come by. I'm reminded of a loving incident which happened during the 60th birthday of Bhagwan. So that was the time when the brass band of Prashanthi Nilayam was reconstituted. And I was very lucky that Bhagwan blessed me with an opportunity to be a part of this brass band. Because it is also very nice. Like, for example, we had one coach who had come from the military who was teaching, Mr. Peter, who was teaching us how to play various instruments. And he was capable of playing all the instruments. And the first performance which we had was inauguration of the Rama temple, which is near Gokulam. So as you enter Prashanthi Nilayam, you'll find a Rama temple. There's a neem tree in front of that. We were standing on the opposite side, and Bhagwan said, I will come to the Hillview Stadium. I will listen to what you are going to play. So that is where one of the songs which we learned at that point of time. I know it may not be very appropriate from the angle of the first performance, and that too inauguration of a temple. There, Swami said, he came to the Hillview Stadium morning. We were all in whites, and all of us played the song. Bhagwan heard the song and then said, okay, I'll go to the Rama temple, wait there, I will come. See, this is the love of Bhagwan. This was a prelude to what I was trying to tell. 60th birthday, Bhagwan was very busy. So many thousands of people had gathered. And I know even now there are pictures or images of how Hillview Stadium was full of people. And it was not only Hillview Stadium, and the Swami was going to go in a chariot from Mandir to the ground. And we had the opportunity of escorting Bhagwan in the band. So we had planned for slow marches, and it slowly became quick march versus slow march. But what I was trying to prelude to bring your attention to is the amount of details that Bhagwan gets into. So we had gone there early morning, maybe at around 6:30, and we were waiting in the veranda. So we were waiting in the veranda. Swami was busy moving into the bhajan hall and moving out into the interview room. So many movements were there. We were just enjoying seeing him, having his darshan, and happy with that. And in all this arrangements that he was into, suddenly he looked around, because till then it was a little dark there also. The lights were not fully lit up. So suddenly Swami looked around and he said, he came to us and he said, all of you are ready? We said yes. Then the next question, see, this is the love and concern which Bhagwan has. And that's what I was saying, that he gets into those minute details. He said, did you all have your breakfast? So we had come from the hostel, and hostel, the breakfast was not yet ready. So we did not want to tell Bhagwan that no, we have not come having breakfast. So all of us smiled, because with Bhagwan we can't say something which is not true also. So all of us smiled, and Bhagwan immediately realized that we have not had our breakfast. So he said, in that case, do one thing, I'll tell them to arrange breakfast for you all. So within few minutes, we were called inside Bhajan Mandir. We were made to sit in rows. Then we had breakfast being served to us inside Bhajan Mandir. So that's a type of love which Bhagwan exhibited to all of us. So we were in our band dress, wearing our band dress. We were getting ready for the first formal performance. And he knew that the function will go on late. So he wanted to ensure that we are comfortable. So he said, have breakfast. And it did not end with that. So we went, sat, we were served breakfast. Within few seconds, Bhagwan was there. Then he was inspecting each person's plate. oh, you have not had this item, you have not had that item. So he used to call the people and say, no, put some more for him. He can eat. There is no problem. So this is the amount of love. He went around talking to each one of us and saying, okay, have a little more. Are you all okay, comfortable? So this is the love that we had come by when it is Bhagwan. So it is a wonderful experience that we all have gone through. Uh, the love which he showered on all of us, because of which we have all blossomed. I know it is a little difficult because we all have got used to that physical frame of his, but that is where he's asking us to connect to him. So automatically you find that he responds. Why? Because Bhagavan says, I don't need anyone who needs to come in between you and me. If we are able to connect, then he is there to respond. There are so many instances which have happened that way also, wherein we find that how his uh, divine hand has played a very big role in whatever happens. To give a small instance of his love for his students and devotees, I go back to when the corona started. I'll end with this incident. Uh, Corona started, we had students who were there in the hostel who are from different parts of the country and some from other countries also. Now it was a challenge because everything was shut down. There were no bus service, there were no airlines, there were no trains which were running. But see the beauty with which Bhagwan works. He ensured that people from different parts of the country were part of the Sevadal who had come to Prashanti Nilayam at that time. So when all these people had to go back, he wonderfully arranged for our students to join them and go back to those places. So this is the amount of love which he has for his devotees and students. That time getting pass for movement was very tough. But by his grace, both for the devotees and for the students, it was not a problem. I know initially it was not so easy, but subsequently he ensured that it happened very seamlessly. That's where we feel his love, his presence in every action which is happening around all of us. We have to believe in that, we have to trust in that, and go with that. We have got to remain connected to that. That is what I think will ensure that we'll be still experiencing all the love which we had experienced earlier, we can continue to experience even now. Thank you. Thank you, Abhinav. I think with that, I will close.
First of all, on the behalf of the entire group, I would like to thank you, sir, for sharing all your thoughts. Precisely, I would say the connection of Bhagwan with his students. I think today across, when you were speaking, sir, I think that came out very truly how Bhagwan is always there with us. And it is just that on us to believe that he's always there and stay connected to him. So just before we end, I think I'll just ask one question on behalf of everyone. I think many of us joined post the Maha Samadhi after 2011. So any incident which you would like to say, which is, which stays that, beat before 2011 or after 2000, Bhagwan is always there with us. He has never left us anywhere. It's just that we think in our minds that, he's not there, but he's actually there with us. Any incident you would like to,
Yeah, one of the incident which I mentioned a little earlier was that. The second incident, this is where how he takes care of us. I know that if those who know how to drive will know that if water is not circulated or the coolant is not circulated in a radiator, the engine will heat. and that can give way. I found that one trip of mine when I was coming from, this was a little later only, maybe 2014-15 or something like that. I was coming down from Bangalore to Puttaparthi. I'm saying how Bhagwan takes care. So around Chikballapur, I found that the temperature gauge was showing a little higher amount of heat when compared to what is normally expected. So maybe in Chikballapur, I added a little bit of water into the radiator because I thought the coolant was okay. So I added a little bit of water into the radiator. So I thought that should not be a problem. So for a few minutes, it was a little low. By the time I reached Bagepalli, again I found it was the temperature was rising. So I did not know what to do because there's no other option which you can think in terms of, and there were no service centers on the way. So that's where I took a risk. Maybe in Gorantla, I again went to the petrol station there. And by that time, the engine oil light started glowing, which is not a very good sign. Those who know about automobile engineering. So I went to the fuel station there, then added a little more coolant. And I also got whether the engine oil level is okay, because that's another part which you have to look. So they said the engine oil is okay. So I added a little bit of coolant and we continue. So there's a last stretch before we reach Mamilakunta. That is after we have that Hanuman. Then I found that the engine was not behaving well. So anyway, it's a last stretch. So we'll see what to do. Because if anything happens on that route, then you can't get help also. And in that segment, you also find that there is no signal. Mobile signals are not very strong. And those days, now it is better. So I continued with that. You may not believe me. There's a slope which we come down. So as we were coming down that slope, that is, there used to be a S-turn which we had, but that has been straightened out. We were coming, and as we were coming, suddenly I heard a sound, tup. So I thought something has gone wrong. Then the vehicle started slowing down. I tried to accelerate. The engine was running. I tried to accelerate, but it was not responding. You may not believe it. It came and stopped just before the curve of Mamilakunta. See, this could have happened anywhere. Then after that, I tried starting. There was no response at all. Then from there, I had to tow the vehicle to the garage. So this is where Bhagwan takes care. It is not that we can be negligent and Bhagwan will take care. But that's where I felt that it was a wonderful gesture of grace which we experienced. That how he brought us safely till Mamilakunta, because that's a place where people are there. And suddenly a lot of people, local people came, tried to push start and all that, but it did not. What had happened apparently is the fuel pump had failed. So not fuel pump, I mean water pump had failed. So this is where if a water pump fails, I don't think we can travel that distance. That's a love and grace which I experienced course, there are many such instances of how he has shown what his love and grace is. So this was one such instance which has got a physical evidence. So that's what I thought I can share with you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing all your thoughts. I think we all enjoyed this session today. We would like to end this session with Samasta Loka Sukhino. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samasta Loka. Samasta Loka.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।